Good evening, Californios. It's March 8th, 2022, and this is podcast number 6. We are Red Star Report. This is Sal G. Lohr with Voices for the California Nation. This week, we have part 2 of the interview, Fumble Forward and Proculturate, how white people can create anti-racist culture with Jill Nagle, on our segment Book Review California, hosted by Red Star contributor Sue Hirsch. But before that, a California independence movement reminder about a subject that the average Californian always finds polarizing: rising gas prices. The average price of a gallon of regular gas in California is now $5.28 compared to $3.73 at the same time last year. These prices hit every Californian, but are particularly hard on people with limited income. But this time, as much as some Californians would like to blame the government in Sacramento, or California's car culture, or the California economy in general, U.S. oil companies and their representatives would like to remind Californians that even though the United States is an oil exporting nation, and even before Russia invaded Ukraine, gas prices were already heading towards $5 a gallon in reaction to COVID-19 pandemic supply chain issues and, of course, U.S. inflation. Which is a shocking bit of disingenuous bullshit, considering that one of the key elements driving inflation in California right now is this 20% rise in gas prices across our nation state. So this is not some place where we can blame a tax or a fee or some other California government overreach. This is the U.S. oil industry blaming rising gas prices on their own supply line mismanagement and inflation that they're largely causing with those rising gas prices. A supply and demand crisis, the U.S. Energy Information Administration confirms, come from oil companies short-sightedly continuing cutbacks on gasoline production even as supply and demand were rebounding from the worst of the COVID-19 crisis in 2020. So from a California independence movement stance, we need to remind people that the pain at the pump Californians are feeling today is U.S. free market capitalism at work. American oil companies making obscene levels of unregulated profit right now as California consumers pay for the mistakes those oil companies made planning for COVID-19 recovery. And chomping at the bit to make even more obscene levels of profit in the coming weeks, while blaming the U.S. government's sanctions from the crisis in Ukraine. And before any Trump Billy, what about bitches about evil California and the price of his last 4x4 fill-up? Just stop. Don't waste my time. Because, yeah, Californians do pay about 30 cents more a gallon in voter-approved taxes for road maintenance and clean air than the rubes in cousin wife America, but that's literally justifiable chump change compared to the completely out of California control extra $1.75 we're all paying in U.S. free market extortion per gallon right now. So if you want to be mad about it, fine. Just do us all a favor and put the blame where it belongs for once. George Carlin famously said America is just an oil company with an army. He could have just as easily called Putin's Russia the same thing. Both the United States and Russia do business in the same global oil markets. And other than the politics, the global supply level is no different today than it was a month ago. But since the oil company economy game is always heads they win and tails you lose, that won't stop U.S. oil companies from punishing California drivers for a big profit payday. And that's just another situation where Californians will never see any change for the better until California is a free and independent nation and can control its own energy policies. This is Voices for the California Nation. Next, Red Star Report presents another edition of Book Review California with Red Star contributor Sue Hirsch. Tonight, Sue has part 2 of guest author Jill Nagle with Stumble Forward and Proculturate, How White People Can Create Anti-Racist Culture. Enjoy.
Now, let me ask you this. In your Stumble Forward article, Stumble Forward and Proculturate, you say that explains a key piece of your philosophy. In that article, did you happen to outline what would be the benefits to all of society if we were to proculturate and disperse the myth of white supremacy?
Well, so we talked some just now about we implied the benefits to white people, if they were to rural whites, for example, who are signed on to and advocating and fighting for policies that actually are harmful to them. So that would be one benefit, is reduced harms. Letting go of whiteness would help rural whites to see more clearly what's align their actions and words and money and efforts with what's actually in their own best interests. For middle class white people, I think it would help us a lot with cognitive dissonance between, so take a religious person who's taught that humans are made in God's image, or to love everyone equally. And yet they see their parents, they see their neighbors, they see their schools, they see their leaders practicing something quite different from that. Mab Segrest, one of the writers that I interviewed for the Proculturator series, we talked about in her memoir of a race traitor fighting racism in the American South. She talks about seeing her Methodist church bend over backwards to close their doors and keep Black people out of the church, and how this just shook her to her core, And so she was awake enough to feel that, to register that in her being. Now imagine the internal mental and emotional concatenations that a child must go through if they choose or are not able to feel that. It's like you have to sort of wall off the truth that you're seeing on the one hand from what you're being told by the people that you're supposed to trust and love and believe, and basically in whose hands you can put your life. So children grow up with their life depending upon swallowing these lies and these contradictions, which creates an enormous cognitive dissonance. And you can kind of see that, in social media. I'm noticing now, and you just sort of push against people's ideas. Well, where'd you get that idea? I notice a lot on LinkedIn. A Black person will post something pro-Black, and then you have these angry, usually 90% of the time men, well, why do you have to be so essentially Black about it? What about white, bloody blood? They're angry and they're reacting. And like, this is the result of being asked to hold these unfathomable contradictions. That on the one hand, your God is a loving God and made all these people equally. You should love everybody on the other hand, but not them. Wait, what? So what do? Do you turn around and go, well, so either the church and my parents and everybody around me must be wrong, or if I call that out, I'm going to be kicked out. And so the word that I want to bring into the room right now is belonging. That we all desperately, fundamentally, and profoundly need to belong. And so I think white people grew up with this impossible task, this impossible choice, really, of either you accept these lies, essentially. Yes, God's a loving God, and we're all created equal except for them. That's just not true. It doesn't make any sense. Or you don't belong. What are you going to choose? Most people are going to choose to belong, swallow the lies, and face the consequences. That's a profound cognitive dissonance to be carrying. And I predict that the DSM, whatever next, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual is going to have white supremacy as a malady before too long, because it messes up white people's minds, right? So Mab Segrest chose to not belong. And in fact, her memoir is entitled Race Traitor. However, and I just realized this as I'm talking, proculturators, I think apparently part of what I'm trying to do is create a new rubric for white belonging. That even though race is a fiction, it's something that we grew up we grew up having it treated as real. And so it's impacted us, and it's impacted all of our identity. So white people need a way to belong. And I want us to have a way to belong, but that is belonging to a truth-based, repair-based, heart connection-based umbrella, not a perpetuating white supremacy mythology umbrella.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Where can we find your article, Stumble Forward? 1 second. Stumble Forward and Proculturate. Where can we find that?
That is on the Afrosapiophile channel of medium.com. And I think you can include a link.
Absolutely. Hal will include that link. He's our producer of Red Star Report. And I am Sue Hirsch of Red Star Report's reviews of authors and their writings. And Jill Nagle is with us today from Evolutionary Workplace. And we are honored to have her. If you're coming in late, she's been telling us about the idea of dismantling white supremacy, and her word that she resurrected from history, the word is proculturate. It's your word of the day. Your work seems really serious and tiring, Jill. What do you do for fun?
I like food so much. I think about food a lot. Cheese. I'm kind of obsessed with different kinds of cheeses. There's a great new mushroom foraging company called, I forget, Wild something. Carrie Stoller has it. And I just ordered some truffles from there. I love being in nature. Nature is the place where I replenish. And I just interviewed Z Gris, who has a program called Awakening the Heart of the Human Family, which is really kind of getting underneath the way that disconnect lives in all of us, which I think, my tagline for my business is dismantling white supremacy from the inside out. Because as much as I see the need for accountability and for using the legal system to create justice, I think that white supremacy mythology lives in ourselves, lives in our system, lives in the way we react to things. So I work with my body and my system and other people's bodies and systems to kind of rewire. I think being in nature is a profound way to do that. I think we got very divorced from our connection to other humans and to nature when light-skinned people of European descent practically wiped out the First Nations populations. And we have yet to reckon with and to reconcile the many harms of that and of enslaving African people here. Going to nature is one way of coming back to a basic human connection and interdependence with the planet. I think it's very easy to forget about.
is there any point of talking to people with racist views who are like so disconnected from nature and from other people that they are just like mind-bogglingly racist?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned. In fact, that's one of the things that's exciting me the most these days. When thinking of two examples, one is Daryl Davis, a Black man, a musician, had one question, which was, how can somebody who doesn't know me hate me? Or how can someone hate me who doesn't even know me? And so he went and hung out with Klan members for a long time. And as a result, directly or indirect result of his hanging out with those Klan members, not to argue, not to judge, or even challenge, just to hang out. Over 200 of them, 200 Klan members turned in their white robes and said, I'm done with this. So I think what happened is that the power of showing up and accepting the human being underneath the prejudice, which ironically is very similar to Christianity's love the sinner, hate the sin, has profound effects. But I saw, so many of my white progressive and liberal friends just canceling, like, oh, this person said something racist, well, just unfriend them, cut them out of your life. And as Asia Davis, the woman of African descent involved with white people doing something in the Human Potential Project, says, one less racist in your life is not one less racist in my life. And so what she's saying with that is that white people, we abdicate an opportunity to use our white privilege to talk to the quote unquote racists when we do that, when we cut them off. So I try to engage them. I try to ask questions and do what Dr. Cleo Manago calls trance breaking work. Because white supremacy mythology lives in our consciousnesses as a kind of trance. And in fact, I just saw today an article about a man who said that he was, I don't know if he used the word trance, but he was in kind of a cult. He was addicted. He was addicted to politics. And the January 6th insurrection knocked him out of this. He's like, well, what the hell happened to me? And if you notice, a lot of people who support Trump, who don't want to admit that racism is a problem, the facts will confuse them. I'm not saying everybody, but some people will react to evidence to the contrary of their beliefs by pushing it away. It's not about seeking truth. It's not about a rational mindset. It's kind of like a trance, right? When you're in a trance, you're not interacting with new input from the world. You're interacting only with what's driving you, right? You're in your nicotine or whatever's bringing on the trance. It is like an addiction, and new information isn't getting in. So I see a lot of the work that I'm doing as trance breaking work, because that's what white supremacy mythology has done. It's taken this set of untrue claims, white supremacy mythology, and it's braided in with trauma, with ancestral loyalties, with those impossible choices that I talked about before, and it's taken hold of our consciousnesses. When you say, what is the benefit to white people of dismantling white supremacy? Well, we'll get a lot of our brains back. We'll get a lot of our consciousness, our reasoning ability, our flexibility, our hearts back that rightfully belong to us. We didn't sign up to have them taken away, but white supremacy mythology did that.
Jill, I was going to ask you, you said you sent me a question to ask you before this interview. What can a white person do to further this cause? And it made me think, well, I do a lot of blogging on social justice, and I always wonder if I'm actually helping anything. Do you think I'm helping anything?
It's so hard to know, Sue, because I don't think these things have a direct cause and effect loop the same way that like mixing baking soda and vinegar does. That said, I'm really glad to know that you're speaking from your heart I think the more of us show up, the more chance we have of creating that 100th monkey phenomenon, and we don't know which instance is going to be the one that knocks somebody's brain out of that trance. Or sometimes people will fight you in the moment and then turn around and be a clone of you, and you don't get to see that. So I'm really glad that you're doing what you're doing. I'd like to read some of your writing.
I will be sure and send you a link to some of my blog posts. I think we're going to wrap it here. Would you like to just, what is the message that you'd like our listeners to take away with them before they leave?
If you resonate with this, come check out some of our events, evolutionaryworkplace.com/events. I'd love to be in touch with you. I always love connecting with other white people who are in this, because I know it can feel lonely, and I'm here with you. I'm here for you. Let's proculturate.
So let's wrap it here. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to Red Star Report book and author review. And we reviewed Jill Nagle today and her article, Stumble Forward and Proculturate. And she will have a book coming out soon that is called, you want to give us the title?
Sure. It's called Skin in the Game: How White People Benefit from Dismantling White Supremacy. And I'm currently seeking representation for that book.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, good luck with that. I hope that book comes out soon, and I hope for a signed copy.
You got it, Sue.
Thank
you got it.
Much.
Thank you
Thank
both.
You so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Sue. And thank you, Jill Nagle, for coming and speaking with us. For more information on Jill Nagle and her article, Stumble Forward and Proculturate, How White People Can Create Anti-Racist Culture, be sure to check out her website, evolutionaryworkplace.com. That's evolutionaryworkplace.com. Or look for links to Jill Nagle's website in the comments section below. Now, a little time in the sun. Activism in Action with Shankar Singham starts now.
This is our country, folks. This is California.
Thank you, Hal. Welcome to another episode of Activism in Action. Please forgive the bouncy camera, but it was just too nice of a day for me to be locked up inside a studio to record this, so I'm out here riding my bike in the San Gabriel River Valley, coming at you from an occupied California in Los Angeles. So, folks, what is happening these days in activism? Well, on Friday in Glendora, there was a protest against the mask mandate by the Glendora School District. What mask mandate, right? The federal government or the CDC just let go of all the mask mandates, meaning no one needs to wear a mask indoors as well. So what are these people protesting? Well, to them, they said they were protesting CRT and the mask mandate in Glendora School District. Folks, they don't give a shit about either one of those issues. They don't care about the mask. They don't care about CRT. This isn't about that. This is about getting practice for the Trump presidency coming up in 2024. Because, folks, we are going to be protesting when that election is stolen, and they're going to be right there ready to meet us, okay? In fact, let's take a look. Here's some footage of some Trumpsters at an anti-mask rally in Los Angeles. This is what we're up against, folks. So this episode, what are we going to be talking about? Oh my God, it's that touchy subject, the subject that all leftists hate to talk about. And that's right, it's firearms. More specifically, the California compliant AR-15. Okay, so let's get right into it. So California actually has a lot of firearms. I would say more firearms per capita than any other state. So much so that the NRA and the gun manufacturers have made a California compliant rifle specifically for Californians. What am I talking about? Well, folks, California has significantly changed and altered the look and the shape of the AR-15 more than what you've seen in movies, right? So we've all seen the standard AR-15. This is the new California compliant AR-15. It looks nothing like any rifle you've seen, right? Now, a lot of these righties and a lot of pro Second Amendment guys will say, it looks funny, I don't like it. That's because it doesn't look like Rambo. It doesn't look like it's on the movies, right? That's what they want. They want the black guns that look like the movies. It serves no other purpose other than it looks cool, right? So California could care less, and they came up with these rifles here. They all kinds of different shapes and sizes, but what they are is called featureless. So these are featureless AR-15s. What does that mean, featureless? Well, a couple of things. Okay, so the first thing, the buttstock is not collapsible, it's not foldable. Also, the trigger, the hand trigger, there's no thumb over on that trigger. You have to keep your thumb parallel with your finger when you pull it, okay? That's to stop any rapid fire situations that might happen in case of a mass shooting. More about that later. It doesn't really stop that, but it's okay. And then third is no suppressor. So at the very tip of the rifle, on the end of the barrel, where the muzzle flash happens, people put a suppressor on there to cover that flash up, make it a little bit softer. But California makes that illegal, so you cannot have a muzzle, anything suppressing the muzzle. Okay, so you have those three things: the buttstock, no foldable over thumb, and the suppressor, and you have a California compliant featureless AR-15. All right. So let's look at some of these AR-15s, what they look like. I mean, they look like something out of a space movies. Some of them. Seriously, they don't. They're much safer. You can fire any round of magazine that you want in there. You can hold a 10-round clip, a 30-round clip, a 50-round barrel. It doesn't matter. As long as it's featureless, you can have any amount of ammo you want. Now, in any other state, you can also have any amount of ammo you want, but you could put that on any firearm, including the regular old AR-15s. In California, if you have a non-compliant AR-15, you cannot have a magazine that fires more than 10 rounds, and it has to be fixed to the rifle, meaning you cannot change the magazine out, okay? That's for a non-compliant AR-15. For a compliant AR-15, you can put any magazine you want in there and fire it, okay? Folks, Google up your local gun store near me. Go down there. Don't tell them that you're leftist, all right? They hate that shit. So act like you don't know nothing, but you're just sick of these libs coming and taking your gun, making these gun laws, and you want to get one before they're all gone. And he will give you the tour, folks. Learn everything you can about the firearms, and after you're done, ask him to recommend a local gun shop that's going to give you a firearm safety course. Please take that. You don't know how many idiots do not take that course. Just get their firearms and then have no clue as to how to operate it, how to fire it. It's fairly simple. There's nothing hard about it. But please do that. So I think that's all I got. Keep it real short. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day out here. Hal, back to you. This is Activism in Action for Red Star Report.
Thank you, Shankar. That was Activism in Action. My turn. Let's take this out with talking points. There are a few things in human experience that can fire the imagination more than an underdog fighting brilliantly against incredible odds. And there is no doubt that the people of Ukraine, standing up to the army of Putin's Russia, has turned that country's courage knob up to 11. Californians as a people can't help but admire this and feel for these people fighting against the odds, particularly when it runs almost nonstop on every outlet of the American national media. At Red Star Report, we'd like to assure everybody in the California independence movement that we are in no way trying to trivialize what's going on in that part of the world. But in some ways, it is a little hard to watch Joe Biden and the U.S. government's response to the refugee crisis in Ukraine. Halfway around the world, without at least a grain of California sea salt. You see, I'm not going to apologize for mentioning any of this, but according to the Associated Press, this past week the U.S. sent $54 million in immediate food and other humanitarian aid to help Ukraine, with a $10 billion aid package being prepped even as we speak. And the Biden administration has announced that the U.S. is already preparing to receive 125,000 Ukrainian refugees, with that number expected to grow in the coming weeks. So, talking point. That is the right thing to do. It's the correct response. Helping people in need fleeing the horror of war and death, that's not an issue, but it does bring up a question. When those 125,000 plus Ukrainian refugees arrive in the United States, is ICE going to put them in cages and separate them from their children too? Is America going to treat those obviously undocumented European people seeking to come to the United States with the same cruelty we're still treating Latin American people who are coming to the United States for basically the same reasons? Because other than skin tone, it really is the same thing. And as a Californian who supports California's sanctuary state laws, I'd like some clarity on this. And while I'm at it, there are other parallels here that maybe we California rebels should recognize. We Californians see images of Ukrainian refugees suffering in the cold, living in tents, hungry, and frightened, because they don't know what the future will bring. And as Californians, we want to reach out and help them. Again, because that's the right thing to do. $54 million in immediate aid with $10 billion to follow is legit. But again, I have to ask, what about the homeless Californians we see every day, suffering in the cold, living in tents, hungry, and frightened, because they don't know what the future will bring? For all we know as Californians, their $54 million in immediate aid was lost in the collapse of Joe Biden's Build Back Better infrastructure package. And the USA doesn't seem to give a shit. After all, aren't California's homeless people just refugees from US capitalism? Casualties of Wall Street's pitiless war for profits on the American middle class and poor? Yeah, look, I get it. That's a controversial statement and if not an inconvenient truth. But as an unapologetic California secessionist, I ask you to forgive me if I can't help but look at it all from a California nation-state perspective. Californians can't even get the services, let alone the assistance, that Californians actually pay for from the U.S. government with our federal taxes. But Congress can cut a huge foreign aid check to Eastern Europe. So yeah, we Californians want to help Ukraine and Ukrainian refugees. But as Californians, we also need to pull back from the national media coverage for a moment. It's a good idea to remind ourselves as Californians that the America that will risk World War III to help Ukrainian people 10,000 miles away is the same America that repeatedly has chosen to simply ignore the suffering here in California. So where does this leave us? Would an independent California with the 5th largest economy on the planet do better helping ourselves and our global neighbors in time of crisis than the USA? I guess we can't say for sure. But we can say an independent California couldn't do worse by California. This is Talking Points. Oh, all right. That's Red Star Report for the week of 3/8/22. Please check out our website with www.redstarreport.com. Subscribe to our Red Star Report YouTube channel. Really trying there. Go to our Red Star Report Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram, and give us a like and follow, please. Because if you want a real California Independence Movement media group, wait for it, it's all about the algorithms. Our thanks to you and all our Red Star Rebels for watching. We are Red Star Report.